The Whispering Woods. In a tiny town nestled at the edge of Whispering Woods, legends of creatures long lost to time wove their way through generations like threads in a tapestry. Each fall, when the leaves turned a fiery red and the nights grew colder, parents would tell tales of cryptids, winged beasts hovering in the shadows, shadowy figures slipping through the trees, and large, lumbering creatures with eyes that glowed like embers. 17-year-old Lily Parker had grown up with these stories, but she was far too practical to believe in them. To her, they were just that, stories. But when her father's demeanor changed after the disappearance of his best friend, she began to feel the icy grip of something sinister lurking just beyond the light of reason. It had started with a shared camping trip in the woods, just 5 nights before. Lily had begged her father to take her to the spot near the creek they had visited each summer. He'd agreed, and they pitched their tent underneath the gnarled old trees overlooking the water. That night, while the stars twinkled like shards of glass above them, her father had told her stories of the woods, the whispering spirits, they called them, beings that communicated through the rustling leaves and strange sounds echoing in the dark. But then, as he spoke, a high-pitched scream shattered the tranquility, echoing through the trees. The sound cut off abruptly, leaving only heavy silence in its wake. Her father paled, gripping her wrist tightly, his gaze darting into the depths of the forest. He mumbled something about the call, and, as a chill crept into the air, they hurriedly packed up and returned home. Now, a week later, her father had become a shell of the man he once was, his lively spark replaced by catatonic dread. He spent his days locked in his study, poring over old maps and notes, muttering under his breath about the creature, as if it were a name constantly hovering just beyond his grasp. Lily couldn't understand what haunted her father, but she was determined to find out. As the moon reached its zenith one night, casting ghostly shadows through her window, she decided to return to the woods and uncover the truth. Carrying only a flashlight and her courage, she slipped away from home, heart racing as she ventured deeper into the Whispering Woods. The trees loomed like ancient sentinels, their branches whispering secrets to one another. She could almost hear them calling, "Lily, Lily." The air grew thick with anticipation as she reached the creek, the very spot where they had pitched their tent. The moonlight danced on the water's surface, but something felt profoundly wrong. It was too quiet. There were no crickets or rustling leaves to accompany the gentle lapping of the creek's flow. Only silence. "Dad?" she called, her voice trembling. A sound behind her, a soft crunch, followed by a hitching breath, made her freeze. She turned to see a figure standing just beyond the tree line. It was tall, disturbingly thin, with elongated limbs and eyes that glowed softly in the dark. Her heart raced. She could barely breathe, paralyzed by fear and curiosity. The creature stepped closer, and to her horror, she could see its mouth stretching into a grim, unnatural smile. "Lily," it whispered, eerily mimicking her father's voice. In that moment, recognition sparked terror in her heart. She stumbled backward, but the creature continued to stalk closer, its elongated fingers brushing against the bark of the trees like a lover's caress. "Your father called to me," it said, its voice a haunting susurration, echoing through her mind. "He wanted to know the truth." "No," she cried, stumbling back toward the creek. "I can give him what he desires," it continued, eyes ablaze with malevolence. "But you must join us, too. You hear the whispers, don't you? They want you to come home, Lily." The ground beneath her felt alive, pulsing with an unseen energy, drawing her closer to the creature. Images of her father, his face pale and haunted, flashed in her mind. She realized he hadn't just lost his friend, he had been marked by the Whispering Woods. With a surge of bravery, she turned and sprinted through the trees, the darkness closing in around her as the creature howled in fury. You can't escape the call of the woods. Branches tore at her skin, but she didn't stop. She ran until she stumbled into a clearing, the distant flicker of her home's porch light brushing hope against the inky shadows. As she dashed toward it, she dared a glance back and saw the creature hovering at the tree line, features twisted in rage but eyes still glowing with that unnatural light. With a burst of energy, she sprinted to her doorstep, throwing herself inside and slamming the door shut. Heart racing, she slid down to the floor, trembling. The whispers grew faint, but her resolve grew stronger. The next day, she found her father in his study. He looked up with haunted eyes, shimmering with a mix of sorrow and relief. Lily, he whispered, I knew you would go back. They're not just stories, she gasped. They're real. We have to leave here, Dad. They won't stop. As her father met her gaze, the understanding of loss was heavy between them. Together, they would find a way to escape the grip of the whispering woods and the cryptids that thrived on despair. But deep down, they knew that the woods would always be waiting, whispering, calling, ready for the moment they might return to its dark embrace.